Hello, and welcome to Dark Facts. Rafaella, a science student, didn't believe the ghost stories about her ancient university hospital. But when she accidentally woke up on the forbidden, sealed-off fourth floor, she found something far worse than a ghost. She discovered a grotesque teleportation experiment. Bodies, including her missing professor, fused into the walls. The terror didn't stop with her escape, because her own survival proves the experiment worked. This is the horrifying story of the university's darkest secret, exposed now on Dark Facts.
It's dark and raining outside. I'm typing all this inside a car, hoping that nobody will notice me, praying that this is a safe hiding spot, at least for this moment, at least until I let everything that happened off my chest. I need at least one other person to know before it's too late. To give you a backgrounder, I'm a second-year med school student at possibly my country's oldest university, definitely one of the oldest universities in Asia. I won't give any names to protect the innocent, but it goes without saying that my campus is haunted. Forget the prestige or the fact that literal national heroes studied here. Mention its name to anyone in the country, and they'll ask if you've ever seen a ghost. I prided myself as a woman of science. I've had countless night classes and 8 p.m. dismissals, even in pre-med. I never saw a ghost, not once. What I did see, however, is something worse. Something no one should ever see or have to go through. It shouldn't have to exist, period. Even if an evil few disagree and say that it's for the greater good.
So I went on with my life, made friends and had a few boyfriends, loved some teachers and hated a few, and dreamed of becoming a successful orthopedic doctor in the near future. Med school was a ton of pressure and highly competitive, with fewer and fewer students returning each term. But what was new? Except for that one night class, when we all entered the lecture hall to find an unfamiliar prof waiting for us on the platform, I'll never forget the look on his face, unnaturally pale and pasty, a smile as wide and forced as a clown's. Mr. Romero is undergoing investigation by the university's authorities, he explained between his teeth, still smiling. In the meantime, I'll handle this class. My friends and I glanced at each other, a little unnerved, but at this point we just wanted to get it over with and return to our dorms. I was pretty bummed because I liked Mr. Romero and his way of teaching, even if he had a tendency to question the university's archaic religious policies, or its current stances on politics, or the ongoing corruption within the admin. In lectures, Mr. Romero had the tendency to go off topic. Whenever he caught himself, he always said the same thing: everything is connected. Then he'd go back to his lecture on nerves and tissues. Still, we weren't really surprised about the substitute. Other professors who asked too much ended up getting called by the admin. A few students were victims of this as well, and they'd never show up to class or lab again, presumably expelled. And so, for the longest time, I thought I wouldn't see Mr. Romero again, until tonight.
My friends and I were on our way back to our dorms after class, when I realized that I had left my canvas bag under the desk at the lecture hall. "You can get it tomorrow, Rafaella," my dorm mate Olive said. "Besides, it's been raining hard lately. You don't want to get caught in the rain." I considered for a moment. It was typhoon season after all. We had just passed by the main building of our campus, which was just a road away from the med building. A little lore on this building: its top floor is sealed off to the public. All stairs leading to that floor are blocked off. Even the elevators don't have a 4 button to prevent people from going there. "We're not yet far off," I told my friends. "I'll catch up. You guys go ahead." thunder rumbled and brought with it fine droplets of rain. I groaned. I really wanted my canvas bag because my umbrella was in there. "I'll follow you," Nathan said. Even though I knew Nathan had a crush on me, I hurried to the med school building before he could follow and before the rain worsened. By the time I found my canvas bag, the building was almost empty, and the lights of other classrooms in the hallway were going off one by one. The last classes were getting dismissed. The rain outside worsened as well, all of a sudden, sending torrents of downpour that I knew would flood the lower-lying levels of the campus. I groaned, but realized it would be much worse outside. I settled on my seat in the lecture hall, thinking I could use a bit of rest. I yawned and folded my arms on the table and slept, setting my alarm to 20 minutes. I didn't know then that I was being watched, that there were footsteps from the hallway, and that the whispers I soon heard came from people who had just entered the room. For all I knew, these were just part of a dream. Then the alarm sounded, and I woke up to a dark room that smelled like rotted meat, or worse. I've handled cadavers in med school. I thought I was used to the smell of death, but this wasn't just death. It smelled like something or someone was actively dying, decaying, and in the darkness all around me were cries and moans of pain. I scrambled to my feet. I tried to stay calm. I knew that I was no longer in the lecture room. For some reason, I was still holding my phone. I turned on my flashlight and saw myself in a dark hallway. One wall was made up of windows, half hidden by thick railing. I peered outside and had to blink twice. The windows overlooked 4 stories below, to a courtyard garden, that of the main building. Then I heard rattling, 3 knocks coming from a door. A rescue? Deep voices, including the substitutes. If it works, at the very least, some part of her will be here. Another voice, a female, someone I couldn't recognize. And if it doesn't, then she'll end up like Romero. Footsteps and flashlights danced around, revealing horrors that almost made me scream out loud. But that would give me away. I hid behind an empty bookshelf, hoping to blend in the shadows as the 2 teachers inspected the room. But not before I caught evidence. Shielding me from view on the other side was a torso. Yes, a torso. The rest of the body blended into the wall. As the flashlights danced around the hallway, I caught more body parts. An arm jutting out of the floor, a hand swaying in painful, jerking motions, legs and feet with missing toes embedded between the wall and floor, shapes of faces under the paint, their expressions filled with agony. Still with my phone in hand, I hid behind the half bodies and other obstacles and followed closely behind as the 2 paced the room. Trust me, I caught everything on video. The body parts still jerking and moving, attached to the ceiling, walls, floor. The sounds of eternal torture. People forever stuck between life and death. And then snippets of answers. My substitute professor and his colleague were apparently using the bodies of subversives and patients who had no family to miss them as test subjects for experiments on teleportation. But I can't tell if this new arm over here is hers. It's her skin tone. Something tells me it's not her. If it's not her, we've succeeded at last. I stayed long enough until I saw what I needed to see. I used the flash in my cell phone camera, knowing fully well that I was finally blowing my cover. But that was Mr. Romero's head sticking out of the wall, offering me a small, sad smile and a word of advice that I was going to take regardless. Run! I dashed down the hallway, The professors, more familiar with the terrain, sprinted after me, or tried to. Some of the arms yanked the feet and they had to struggle to break free. The man broke free first, but tripped over another leg while another half-body jutting from the nearby wall reached out to pull his hair until he fell backwards. Meanwhile, I was getting closer and closer to the door, wondering how on earth I was getting out of the building if every entry point to the 4th floor was sealed off. Turns out, I didn't have to worry. I opened the door, and in the blink of an eye, I was at the lobby of my dorm. Nobody else was there. The security guard came out and greeted me with a smile. "It's quite late, Rafaella, but you're dry, thank God. I'm glad you didn't get caught in the rain." Thunder rumbled outside. I ran up to my room, charged my phone, and checked if everything was there. Nothing but 10 minutes of blank, mute nothingness. And the picture I took of Mr. Romero? One long black rectangle that didn't show anything, even when I changed its brightness in an app. I knew I couldn't go back to school. I closed my eyes, and when I opened them in a second, I found myself in my car, which was in the parking lot across the hospital. Their experiment on teleportation worked for the very first time, it seemed, with me. I am slowly learning to navigate this power. All I had to do was close my mind and will myself to be in a different place. I must admit that it was an amazing power to have, something I could also use in bringing the truth to light. But at what cost? At what cost?
The chilling truth of this story is that the universities succeed. Rafaella is now their perfect, delayed subject.
The question remains, can she use this terrifying power to expose the truth, or will the experiment eventually consume her mind entirely?
Let me know your theories in the comments. If this descent into scientific horror chilled you, hit the like button right now. Make sure you subscribe to Dark Facts and ring the notification bell so you never miss a dose of the unsettling truth. Until next time, keep the lights on and question everything you thought was solid.